Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of BMB Sports Talk. I'm your host, Rocco, joined here in the studio by my co-host, Brandon Hislop. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into today's discussion. The 2018 Winter Olympics Games came to a close this past Sunday in Pyeongchang, South Korea, where athletes from 91 countries competed for 16 days and 15 sports in over 300 events for the gold, silver, and bronze medals. Norway topped the medal count with 39 medals and set a new Olympic record for the most medals won by a country ever in the Winter Olympic Games, then followed by Germany, Canada, and the United States. There was a lot of epic and must-see moments this Olympics, and when I say must-see, check out this clip of the emotional final shootout between the U.S. women's hockey team and Canada as the U.S. finally outlasted the Canadians and won the gold for the first time in 20 years since its introduction to the Olympics back in 1998. Although the U.S. had its stumbles like Nathan Chen, who was a clear favorite for a medal in men's figure skating, and came up short, placing 5th overall, including the U.S.'s worst finish since the 1998 Olympics when the U.S. only won 13 medals, and Lizzie Vaughn's disappointment getting bronze in alpine skiing, and her major comeback was not complete as she had sights on gold and did not strike. However, youngsters like Red Gerard and Chloe Kim was definitely a bright spot for the U.S. as they made a name for themselves, both earning the gold in their snowboarding events at only 17 with insane runs in their competitions. 16 days of pure excitement, Brandon. What was your memorable moments from the Olympics?
Curling. Curling was my memorable moment. Before the Olympics started, I didn't really know what curling was and I wasn't really into it. But then I knew the men's and women's curling team were getting very high up and had a chance to win gold. So I started watching. And I gotta say, the men's curling was very interesting. They had a very nice match against Sweden to win gold.
Brandon, it sure was a sight to see. The U.S. men's curling team was not predicted to make the gold medal round. They weren't even expecting to make it to, the post-play. And, they just showed hard work, determination in order to get into that gold medal final and win. It was amazing. It was an amazing game. But, Brandon, you certainly cannot forget Jessie Diggins' historic final stretch that won her and Keegan Randall gold in the women's cross-country skiing event, also immortalizing themselves in history as the first Americans to win gold in the event, ending a 42-year medal drought in that sport. It was certainly one of the best finishes to a race I have ever seen. Her fatigue was running high, but through the last leg, her drive to win the gold was even higher.
And how could you miss Shaun White's epic run during the men's half pipe? Coming back after a very disappointing 2014, it really was a great comeback story for the 3-time gold medalist. It really was an exciting 16 days at the Olympics, and the clock is already ticking for 2020 Summer Games in Tokyo.
The New York Yankees coming off one game away from the World Series last year when they lost in 7 games in the ALCS to the now world champions Houston Astros last October. The Bronx Bombers are hungry as they look to conquer this year and make a run for the World Series. In the offseason, the Yankees made a monumental trade with the Florida Marlins, where the Yankees sent all-star second baseman Starlin Castro and 2 talented minor leaguers for reigning NL MVP Giancarlo Stanton. This trade was the talk of the offseason, as Stanton will be joining a star-studded lineup, both big bats of Gary Sanchez and Aaron Judge. Let's just say pitchers this season will have a tough time pitching around those 3.
The AL East will be very interesting this year. Both Boston and New York have made the talent, pitching, and depth to make a run in the postseason. It definitely has gotten more interesting recently as the Red Sox has signed free agent J.D. Martinez to a 5-year, $110 million contract. This big move by Boston will certainly bolster the Boston Red Sox lineup as they will try to compete with the big bats in New York of Gary Sanchez, Judge, and Stanton. It will definitely be a sight to see those 2 big franchises be in the same division. Rocco, what do you think of the AL East this season?
Brendan, I think it's going to come down to the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. The acquisition of Giancarlo Stanton is huge for the New York Yankees lineup. They weren't really expected to do much last season in the postseason, but they had huge at-bats by Gary Sanchez.
But how do you think the Yankees and the star-studded lineup that they have are going to be able to face a pitcher like that the Red Sox have, like Porcello or Sale?
Brandon, the Yankees didn't do so well last season in the series versus Boston, but, they have more experience now from the postseason. I'm expecting, third-year player, Gary Sanchez, second-year player, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton to really carry that lineup and hit big home runs this season to carry the Yankees.
Rocco and I like what the Yankees have done this offseason, including their new manager, Aaron Boone. I think he's definitely going to steer them in the right direction, possibly towards the World Series. Another New York team that has been making moves this offseason as well is the Mets. They signed free agent and former Yankee Todd Frazier to a 2-year, $17 million deal. This move gives the Mets a visible third base option and veteran experience. As long as the Mets bullpen stay healthy, including their big four, Noah Syndergaard, Jacob deGrom, Matt Harvey, and Steven Matz, the Long Island boy, the Mets have the pieces to make a run for a wild card and even a playoff berth. Along with that, Yoenis Cespedes has to come up big this season, and new signing Jay Bruce have to supply them with big bats. The Mets have the pieces together, but the big question is can they stay healthy? Last season, Rocco, Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard both had big injuries, which was a big problem last year.
But Brandon, you certainly cannot forget the Milwaukee Brewers. They made some noise this offseason in free agency. They struck a trade with the Florida Marlins, who sent star outfielder Christian Yelich, while the Brewers sent 3 talented minor leaguers prospects in return. Not only did they get 1 star, they got 2, with a big signing of free agent outfielder Lorenzo Cain for 5 years, $80 million. These 2 acquisitions not only boasted their outfield, but also brought big power to the lineup, joining Eric Thames, who had a breakout season last year, hitting a career-high 32 homers. Both Yelich and Cain had outstanding 2017 seasons as well, batting near 290.
Rocco, I feel like the Milwaukee Brewers are now going to be a big factor in the NL this year. I mean, in the NL, you do have the big teams like the Cubs, Dodgers, but now I think you have to put the Milwaukee Brewers up there as one of the big teams in the NL.
I would as well, Brandon. They're competing in a division with the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs over the years have become very competitive. They won their first World Series in almost 100 years. 2 years ago was a big moment for them. So, they might have a run for their money this season as they sign 2 huge stars like Cain and Yelich. It's going to be a very competitive NL Central.
With a big free agency and offseason heading into spring training, it will certainly be leading up to a long-awaited opening day in 2018.
With March now upon us, men's college hoops are coming to an end. And with that, the postseason begins. Conference championships in 32 Division I conferences will take place. The winners automatically get a bid to the March Madness NCAA tournament. But some teams wait till Selection Sunday to see if their team is called of the 68 teams that are selected into the tournament. With that being said, March Madness is full of Cinderella stories, heartbreaking losses, and the thrill of moving on in each round. Brandon, there are a lot of teams that could win their conference championships. Who are your 2 automatic favorites to make the NCAA tournament and win their conference championships?
Rocco, I really don't have 2 picks to get in, but I do have one. It's Duke. Duke is one of the best teams right now in the country, and with Coach K, who is one of the best coaches ever, the coach of Team USA, is just one of the best coaches. Like we said about Belichick and Brady, it's Coach K and Grayson Allen. They could really be a dynamic duo, and they can lead Duke to a national championship.
Brandon, I like Duke, but I like Michigan State and Villanova better. Last year's Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Miles Bridges, averaging almost 17 a game this year, is leading that team into the postseason, as the Spartans are ranked number 2 in the nation and are a clear favorite to win the Big Ten Conference. But the tournament will not be easy to get out of. Purdue and Ohio State both are ranked teams in the Big Ten that can threaten MSU's chances at a conference championship. Don't count them out. Villanova is another favorite of mine. Ranked number 4 in the nation, juniors McCall, Bridges, and Jalen Brunson have been big impact players for the Wildcats, averaging double digits this season. If they could play tight defense and have either Brunson or Bridges scoring, they could definitely make a run for the national title.
Rocco, let's talk bubble teams. My bubble team is the Miami Hurricanes. Miami Hurricanes just had a big game against North Carolina, and my boy Jaquan Newton hitting a big half-court shot from just inside the line to beat the North Carolina by 3 points, 91-88. And who's your bubble team?
Brandon, my bubble team, and only my bubble team, has to be the Providence Friars. They're only 6th in the Big East, but unlike St. John's in that division, who has beaten top 10 teams like Duke and Villanova, the Friars have a decent record, only 18-12. The Friars do have 2 top 10 ranked wins against Xavier and Villanova. That will most likely be enough on their resume to slide into March Madness, but not win a conference championship at the very least.
March is a very exciting month with all the basketball, and on Sunday, Selection Day is the beginning of the dance before it all gets started.
Here's your upcoming games this weekend.
Thanks for joining us this week on BMB. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at BM Broadcasting and on Instagram at BMB Sports. I'm joined here by my co-host Rocco Law. Don't go changing.